But it is. I mean, that's the whole thing. Are we on? We're on.
No, we're totally on.
Oh my God, we're totally on.
Hey, we're only sort of late.
It's only super sort of late.
Welcome to DotGeek.
40 minutes. Yeah, well, I'm talking over Danny because why not? It's a thing that I do a lot.
Yeah, no, welcome to DotGeek. We are a few minutes late. Thank you for your patience with our time stuff. We're kind of like the doctor. Time is all wibbly wobbly. We do time with strict rules.
She's Danny Danger. I'm Mark Gardner.
I am Josh Rubin.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get started. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we've got some good articles that are on the Daily Dot right now, so we'll get started with that. I'm really excited because
I wanted to say welcome back to Mark.
Hey,
welcome back to Mark.
VidCon.
Yeah.
VidCon. We missed you
you
terribly.
I missed
we did.
you guys.
I had this whole
Don't
couch
get
to
me wrong.
myself.
I love VidCon.
Was it the best VidCon ever?
Absolutely.
What made it the best VidCon ever?
It was the best VidCon ever because the organization was 10 times and a million times better than it's ever been. Now, keep in mind, I work VidCon, so I'm like on staff, so I don't always see the outward-facing stuff. I'm sorry.
Fancy.
Did I mention I work staff? It's a thing that I do. Anyway, the back end worked great. The front end, everything we heard worked great. Everything was very smooth. They changed the way the ticketing worked so that it was a lot more organized as to what you could go to and how things were separated. So there wasn't quite as much fanboying.
Better than Comic-Con, worse than Comic-Con, different than Comic-Con?
I'm going to say different but better.
Different but better. Is it a more mature Comic-Con?
No.
Is it a less mature Comic-Con?
Well, it depends because you can get a community ticket, and the community ticket is basically for people who want to go out and just follow your fans. And they were limited to the first floor, expo hall, signings, everything like that. And that's where you have the screaming crowds, and it's Beatlemania and everything like that.
Is it just nothing but 14-year-old girls screaming?
Probably 95% 14-year-old girls on the first floor of Comic-Con. It is like heavy.
VidCon. The first floor of Comic-Con is 95% 45-year-old dudes.
I'm sorry. VidCon. The first floor of VidCon, 95% 14-year-old girls.
Makes me feel like Comic-Con and VidCon should never hang out together.
Probably not a good thing.
No.
Probably a bad mix.
I just feel like it would either be like a really bad time or possibly just, yeah.
I think it would be.
I feel like Comic-Con would get kicked out of the bar for having a fake ID, and VidCon would be like, another scotch, please.
You think VidCon would be like that? I don't know.
Next topic.
Are we going to come back to VidCon?
Yeah, we'll come back to
VidCon.
VidCon.
Do your thing.
Good. Okay. So we were talking about things that are on the Daily Dot website, articles you should read just to get us kind of warmed up. We had an interview with Catherine Elhofer from We Love Fine that I was really into. I really loved it because she talks about some of the influences that she had on how she designed different things, like the Spider-Gwen hoodie that's been so popular. It's a really good read. It's an interesting article. There is definitely some evolution in, particularly in women's fashion and women's influence in the comic book industry, and that is reflected in We Love Fine's fashion. They're really leading the way in, sort of revolutionizing, geek accoutrement for ladies, and I'm into it.
I mean, is that a thing now? Do you think we're going to see like everyday cosplay just kind of explode?
That's a thing. Yeah.
God, I hope so. I dream.
That's becoming a serious thing. Even at VidCon, we had people talking about they were doing everyday cosplay. I interviewed someone who was doing an everyday cosplay. I mean, it's just kind of the thing. And it's so super subtle that you don't even notice it unless you really get into the character and really dig.
So it's like wearing a costume underneath your regular clothing, except you're wearing it as your regular clothing. Like nobody here knows that I'm dressed up as Wonder Woman, but I'm totally dressed as Wonder Woman.
Totally.
Right now.
If
this is actually my dream is to have
is nothing but star-spangled Speedo thing going on.
No, this is actually seriously my dream to like have several outfits, like black pencil skirt. You get the iron on, you get the iron-on white stars to go down the seam. You get a nice red top, gold necklace, gold belt, 2 gold bracelets, tie the whole thing together, maybe a headband if it works with the outfit, and to just be like Wonder Woman every day. And every once in a while someone will stop and be like, that's a very Wonder Woman-esque outfit. And I will be like, yes! But for the most part, I just get to walk around feeling like Wonder Woman every day because Wonder Woman.
So I love what We Love Fine is doing as far as like women's fashion and everything goes. The Spider-Gwen line is really cool.
Yeah.
And I really love that stuff. I really want more men's stuff like that.
Spider-Mark.
It's not. I'm not saying I want a Spider-Gwen.
There's nothing stopping you from wearing more spandex.
That's true. I could. Well, there's common
Underoos?
decency. Common decency is stopping me from wearing more spandex.
Common decency is an antiquated notion.
You haven't seen me in spandex. See, you got nothing on that one. You're right.
Men can wear Spanx too. I'm just saying.
Spanx and spandex are 2 totally different things.
My point before I was derailed by my co-hosts here is that I want more like men-like stuff. I mean, Marvel's doing the thing with that. I can't even remember who it was. They've got a website and they're doing like a Marvel-inspired line of clothes.
Well, and not even just for men. I would like to see that separation sort of close the gap, because I would love like an Iron Man blazer or Captain America blazer, something very that doesn't necessarily.
They've had like those leather jackets and there was those Nightwing hoodies for a while that are evocative of like the costume design.
Yeah, that's more of what I want. But there's not as much of that for guys as there is for.
And that is the bummer
dresses up
with
like Batman like daily.
That is the bummer with like We Love Fine. Everything's in women's sizes. Now, one of the great things about We Love Fine is that they don't only make stuff for like smaller sizes. They definitely make stuff for like very small sizes and bigger sizes. So they're very representative in that scope. I would like to see Spider-Gwen hoodies for dudes, and I would like to see those. And I would like to see those. The Marvel outfits that came out for men a while back. There was some of that stuff where I was like, I would totally wear that. Can we take it in the weight just a little bit?
Well, hey, I can complain about it all day because I'm taller than your average bear, and you know how hard it is to find
You and I are just going to have
like,
stuff tailored.
It's true.
We just need a tailor.
I mean, to get something with sleeves down to here, it's like I'm wearing a box, and then I just walk around, and everybody thinks I weigh 300 pounds.
Dude, I'm 5'7", which is supposed to be average height. It's still a pain in the ass to find pants that are the right length.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Like a tall guy, I mean, people assume that if you have like a 34-inch inseam, that you have a 65-inch waist, and that's not true. That's just not true.
I think both Danny and I were thinking the exact same thing at the exact same time when you were talking about that.
I said nothing.
Did I miss something?
I like watched it go through your head,
but
like,
I didn't say anything.
This is the illustration of the difference in our brains here, because I don't even know what I said that would have made you go like, Let's hit my mic.
You know what they say about men with long inseams? They have trouble finding pants. True
okay,
that.
speaking of horrors,
like dead air.
Speaking of horrors from beyond, we're going to move over to the second story, which is all about Pluto. I personally am all about Pluto. I've always been all about Pluto, but apparently that dark spot on Pluto that popped up, they've given a name. Danny, what is that name?
Name is what is the last part? They named it after Cthulhu, which was
it's the Cthulhu Regio.
Yeah. The Cthulhu Regio.
The Cthulhu Regio.
Because, where else would you take your vacation if you were Cthulhu but on Pluto?
I didn't even notice a flying spaghetti monster symbol in that picture until just like right now. There's a flying spaghetti monster behind Cthulhu, and that just cracks me up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Cthulhu
they're both elder gods.
Yeah, Cthulhu has to have friends too. Now I'm sort of thinking of Pluto as like the Florida for the old gods.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, it's just like when they get like old and retire, they just go to Pluto, hang out in Cthulhu Regio, sitting there on their like little lawn chair,
play bingo.
Like they're like 4 billion years old gods, as opposed to those young.
Exactly.
Like when does Zeus get to go there?
I don't know. I guess
when do the Olympian gods become old gods? Does that actually happen?
What's the retirement age for an old god? That's what the real question is. Because I would say that Zeus is probably a young god in the grand scheme of things. Because,
compared to
he's
Cthulhu,
like
he's
4,000 years old, 5,000 years old, something like that.
Well, seeing as how Cthulhu was invented by Lovecraft like 100 years ago,
he is like the youngest of the gods, technically, really.
Well, Spaghetti Monster's younger, but Cthulhu, Madness.
True. We should make an infographic on the ages of the gods.
Like the theoretical and fictional ages of the gods versus the actual ages of the gods.
Now, here's the thing. Why doesn't I really want Odin to retire now? Because like that dude is just like an asshole.
Yeah, you don't like Odin at all.
I do not like Odin. He's such a jerk.
But how about Woden?
What?
That's the other name for Odin. Is Woden? It's the more Germanic Odin.
Yeah, right.
Whoa, is that like Keanu Reeves Odin?
I just think Germans like the W's more than. Yeah.
That's true.
Did you know that Odin's horse has 6 legs and was actually birthed by Loki, and his name is Sleipnir?
I have heard that, actually. Well, the part about it being birthed by Loki.
It was birthed by Loki, as was Fenrir the wolf.
Wow, Loki's like having birthed all sorts of things.
Loki switches genders. Loki's trans.
He's got a non-binary thing working there.
No, I don't think he's trans. I think he's gender fluid, and I'm
gender fluid.
Yeah, gender fluid.
You are all over gender fluid.
And yes, it's actually really funny because they do cover that in the comics, and they talk about that because the new incarnation of Loki, like this young Loki, is openly bisexual, and there has been an argument made for the fact that he is gender fluid because he often he goes back and forth between being a woman. Now, stealing Sif's body, I'm not cool with.
Stealing anybody's body, that's just rude.
Kind of rude. You could be your own girl.
Are there just like shades of Constantine with the new kind of incarnation of Loki a little bit?
feels like a logical progression to me. Like he's so multifunctional. It just kind of feels like he was one of those characters who always like would have been pansexual.
I guess I never.
And especially like the younger incarnation of him. Like you get to know the younger incarnation of him, and he definitely has a different personality than the original Loki.
True.
So
I also feel like when you're talking pansexual, when you're talking about deities, it's really about having sex with like a half goat.
That's true. I mean, think about how many things those gods have had sex with.
But I mean, I was gonna say, how does he like give birth to a wolf? Like, he's not just like picking some random chick up in a bar.
he's not. He became girl wolf, and he slept with a big wolf and had a baby wolf.
And then he turned back into.
I mean, that's how else would it happen?
Yeah.
Unless it was kind of like some kind of like weird.
It's not some of that like bullshit Greek.
Like
it's not like that bullshit Greek myth thing. Oh, it's a bull. Oh, it's a golden shower, and now you're pregnant. No, it's very fucking subtle. No, it's like he actually turns into the thing. And becomes the thing, and then and has another thing.
Does the thing.
That Sleipnir was basically when they were rebuilding the walls of Asgard after the Aesir-Vanir War. They had hired a giant to come and rebuild the walls, and they made a deal with the giant that they didn't want to keep. So Loki became a female horse to beckon away the giant's horse to keep the giant from finishing his task. And he managed to do that, and so the giant was late in actually finishing, and when the giant realized that this had happened and he'd been betrayed or cheated by the gods, it revealed that he was actually a giant, and Thor killed him.
When did you become the Norse mythology guy?
I've actually always, I've always been pretty well read in Norse
He's
mythology.
been just sitting there laying and waiting.
That's
ready.
amazing.
I've never had the opportunity to kind
bombs.
of to bring that up. But,
Wow.
now was the opportunity.
You're kind of blowing me away. I had no idea you were a Norse mythology guy.
I've always loved Norse mythology. Norse mythology.
Yeah, Norse.
Haven't been able to pronounce
North
it.
remembers.
No.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I'm still recovering from VidCon. I can barely speak.
Well,
like
speaking of
most
VidCon,
sentences.
that's the next
Yeah.
topic.
It's the VidCon thing.
Back
'cause
to
I was at
VidCon.
VidCon. I can't even say enough about VidCon. Basically, it boils down to this. If you are in online video, if you are in any type of online social media or anything with modern media, you need to be at VidCon. If you're with NBC, you need to be at VidCon. NBC actually had a huge presence at VidCon. So did a lot of shows that are in quote-unquote traditional media. If you're not there, you're wrong, because everything that is happening and will be significant within the next 5 years is happening right now at VidCon. It's just amazing to me. The audience, the engagement with the talent, and the level of talent that's there keeps getting bigger and better every year. So does the money. If you're in the business of anything social, of anything media, there are deals being made at VidCon. A friend of mine, an agent friend of mine, was here in town for South by Southwest, and I was talking to him. He's like, South by Southwest is huge, but no deals get made in South by Southwest. Not the case at VidCon. I cannot tell you how many meetings happened, how many deals were closed, how many things were going on at VidCon. I mean, that picture right there just shows you an idea. That's the concert stage from last year at VidCon. I think that was last year. And it is just insane.
Does it make you feel old, though? Does it?
Oh, yeah. We were making a joke on the stream because I was streaming there, and we made a joke that we wanted to get AARP to sponsor us because I'm just like the oldest guy out there right now. It's like there's all these like 14-year-old kids who's like, who's the old guy on camera? It's like yeah, I'm not your 15-year-old guy that's doing the thing and you're chasing around screaming, but I don't care. But it does make me feel old. It's at the same time, it makes me feel really hopeful because these kids that are there and these creators, these younger creators that are there, never seen a more engaged group of people ever. I mean, they are savvy about media, they're savvy about news, they're savvy about all the things that are going on. And yeah, there's a certain level of like, hey, I really love ex-British guy who sings and is 14 and has a lot of hair, so I'm going to scream and chase him all over the place. The flip side of that is they're really into social issues, the environment, whatever it is, and they will really step up and really try to make a difference.
So you're not like, hey, millennials, get off my lawn kind of a thing?
No. That actually, I get that way through the year, and then I go to VidCon, and I'm like, oh, they're all right. They're okay. It takes VidCon to make me think they're okay. So, yeah, VidCon was amazing. I mean, there were so many great things. If you're a creator, there's stuff there to teach you how to be a better creator and ways to be successful in the space. If you're in the industry, there are things talking about the future of the industry, the newest apps, the newest websites, the newest things that you need to be involved in. And if you're a fan, you have the chance to see your favorite creators close up, do signings, see performances, go to the different booths, do all the things. They even had a Nickelodeon stage where you could like film a quick audition for Nickelodeon. I will say we're going to lose Nickelodeon as a sponsor. I'm pretty sure all those just get trashed. I'm pretty sure nobody's
I think that we lost Nickelodeon as a sponsor when we were like, y'all need to fucking be nice to Cora.
That's true, yeah. We've lost. It's like every episode we lose another sponsorship opportunity.
That was gone. Seriously, though. Merchandise Cora now.
That's all right. That's what Patreon's for, right?
Right.
Why worry about businesses when you can just have your fans support you?
Right.
So it was exhausting. I was there for just short of a week, just doing all of the working and the things. But now that I'm back, I'm not well rested, but I'm here. And yeah.
Coffee. This episode brought to you by
Coffee.
And Adderall.
I haven't done it.
No.
A
I'm
lot
not
of
that
coffee.
awake.
I was actually very lucky because one of the sponsors had a lounge across from where I was working there, and part of their lounge was a latte bar. It was totally there. Barista, everything. Be like, give me a latte.
Well, it had to be because the majority of the people that were there weren't old enough to drink.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Otherwise, VidCon was nothing but a field of drunk children.
Yeah, that would be, yeah.
That's kind of how I picture VidCon.
I was just thinking about the after parties, and that was fun.
Pictures.
Nope, didn't happen.
All right, what's this about?
So there was something really exciting that was announced and premiered at VidCon this weekend. Oh, Grace Helbig and Hannah Hart are putting out Electra Woman and Dyna Girl, which is going to be absolutely amazing. The trailer premiered. It's hysterical. I'm so excited. Just new, different superhero stories are always really cool to me, especially when they're made by funny women.
Are they both electric-based powers?
No. Have you not seen Electra Woman and Dyna Girl?
Mm-mm.
Oh, my God. Okay, let's get some history of Electra. My camera. Come on. Give me the... There we go. Yes. Electra Woman and Dyna Girl was a show by Sid and Marty Krofft from the 1970s. It was amazing. It was one of those things where they had like the anthology series where it's like each show was a different... It was Electra Woman and Dyna Girl for like 10 minutes. Then we go to HR Puffin stuff or whatever it was. And Electra Woman and Dyna Girl was one of my favorite things growing up as a little tiny kid. I was like, oh my God, Electra Woman and Dyna Girl. It was amazing. So when I heard this was happening, it was great.
So it's kind of like the Banana Split style of stuff. Where
Yeah. It was great. I mean, it was stupid beyond all expectation of being rational. That was not Electra Woman and Dyna Girl. No, it was crazy. But what I like about this, number one, Hannah Hart and Grace Helbig, if you don't know them, are two of the nicest people in the industry. Just straight up. It's not an act. What you see in their videos and what you see in their fan interactions is realistically who they are. They're spectacular. I wish them nothing but great success. Number two, I really like how this came to be because Full Screen, which is one of the multi-channel networks on YouTube, one of the bigger ones, teamed up with Legendary Pictures, who is now going into digital content to make this happen. They got the rights from Sid and Marty Krofft to make this up. So you've got a new media company with Full Screen who is expanding exponentially, teaming up with Legendary Pictures, the film studio, in their digital studio to make this show. And it's amazing. And the trailer looks great. I don't know if we've got the trailer that you can roll, but the trailer...
We should, yeah.
There should be the trailer in there somewhere.
Okay.
But it looks amazing. No trailer... Oh, so sad. You guys do... Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Yes. It's just great. You guys look it up on YouTube. Check out the trailer and everything. One thing I loved about this trailer is early on, it glimpsed them at the beginning where they're wearing the old school costumes, and it's straight out of Electra Woman and Dyna Girl. I was like, oh my God, they like totally called back to the original show. I love it. It's just, I'm really, really excited about this show.
I really do like the new costumes too, though. I think the new costumes look totally fierce.
Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah, it'd be 20 years from now they'll look
ridiculous.
like the original.
Yeah, exactly.
costumes.
That's kind of how fashion works, though. Like you look back at the '80s and you're like, I mean, yeah, that was awesome, but
you could you could tease your hair out more and wear shoulder pads.
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Totally.
Oh my God, no! I have '80s hair. I don't even want to talk about all the '80s capabilities of my hair. Like
we wouldn't be able to green screen anything out, but whatever.
Seriously, I could just. I mean,
Shave or bald.
Shave or bald. You could do that too. Shave or bald.
No.
Electra Woman and Dyna Girl. I'm not sure when it's actually hitting, but the fact that they're in post production and have the trailer out right now makes me so.
I think it's
happy.
August.
Is it August?
maybe I'm confusing it. No, I'm confusing that with something else we have later down the line. It's not August.
I don't know. I don't know.
What?
Just keep your eyes open.
I am super excited about it.
Super excited.
Super excited about it.
Well done, Full Screen and Legendary Pictures grabbing these two
Yes.
and making it a thing.
By all means. Speaking of really great female superheroes that give us intense feels, the Supergirl pilot was premiered to 50 or so moms and daughters.
I thought it was like 500.
Oh, was it 500? Oh, yeah, it was 500. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
50. Yeah, I'm missing a zero. Anyway, a bunch of moms and daughters were invited to watch the Supergirl pilot. And they had a really good reaction. They filmed it. They, all the little girls really enjoyed it. All the moms really enjoyed it. And then Melissa Benoist actually came out afterwards and met all of these girls and gave them capes and like rub-on tattoos. And I mean, just the whole response that these girls are having to this superhero stuff was really heartwarming. And there is still this idea in Hollywood that like girl-based superhero movies won't reach the right audience and that girls don't care about these things. And
DC's going to eat Marvel's lunch with this. This is like their one.
They really are.
Definitely, definitely.
And this is needed. Like this is so necessary. And the fact that they are like unashamedly marketing it and saying, yes, we are making this for little girls. Yes, we are making this for young women. What? Come at me, bro. Like
they're gonna have.
I love it.
Yeah, and it looks great. All the trailer, or not the trailer, the pilot leaked, and all the word about anyone who saw the pilot was that it was amazing. And the fact that I keep seeing all of this investment that CBS is putting into this show, I'm feeling good about this, because if it was one they were wanting to bury, I don't think we'd be seeing.
I hope it's got NCIS as a lead-in.
That's perfect. That will be a perfect transition.
Totally perfect
into because those.
I don't even know what's on. I don't know what's on CBS anymore.
I don't either. I do find this a weird show for CBS because I always think of CBS as kind of like the old channel. You know what I'm saying?
You're just remembering the CBS from when you were a kid, though.
Yeah, I guess so. Has it younged up, I guess?
Probably.
I don't know. What's on CBS?
I don't know. I still remember must-see Thursdays on NBC, so it's kind of like...
I thought it was must-see Friday.
No, it was Thursdays. That was like the Friends Seinfeld
you're right. That was
night.
the Friends Seinfeld
Yeah.
thing. There was nothing on Friday. Nobody watches TV on Friday.
Must get out of your house and go socialize on Friday.
Indeed.
Yeah, or play video games.
Or play video games. But I'm really excited about this, and I think that this marketing tactic is really smart, and I completely agree. I think DC is going to, I think DC is basically going to be able to say, like, hey, Marvel, look, it's not that hard. Like, because it's getting downright embarrassing how long it's taking all these studios to get on board with the whole girls are interesting too.
I think if DC's smart, they'll just take it as a win and keep going because they've had their asses handed to them pretty substantially for the past 5 years.
Well, with this, and they also have the Supergirl like comic cartoon thing where they've done the different art and the younger quote unquote art and everything. So they really are reaching out this demographic, and this is great. And I will also say, I love Melissa Benoist. I think that she is great. I think she was completely misused in Glee, and I'm still mad at you, Glee, for that. You totally squandered an opportunity with her. Whatever. But now she is whatever. Now she's a Supergirl.
Said no grown straight man ever.
Until today.
Until today. I'm
Groundbreaking.
very angry at you, Glee.
I'm very angry at Glee. I bet there are other straight guys out there that said, I'm very angry at you, Glee, for one reason or another. Whether it's their girlfriends watching it all the time, and they're like, damn you, Glee, quit making me watch this show, or whatever. I'm sure it's been said before.
I've seen a lot of Grey's Anatomy for just that reason. I will say Darkman19 is saying on Twitch that CBS does have the Big Bang Theory.
That's true.
These guys both hate the Big Bang Theory, which
Yeah.
I don't. And I enjoy Big Bang Theory. I think they feel that it is geek or nerd cultural appropriation.
I wouldn't go
I
that
hate
far.
that word.
I
I
would
don't-
not
I
go
don't know
that
about
far.
that.
It's just not. I just don't think it's good. It's not reflective of the geek community that I live in and that I engage with. It's full of
agree.
stereotypes.
It's television. It's not.
Television is not an excuse. Saying it's television to someone who wants to produce shows and being like, oh, it's television, so it's okay that it be bad. No. That's not okay. That's not an excuse.
I enjoy it.
That's not
So
an excuse.
see,
and that's okay. You can enjoy it. But I have my reasons for not enjoying it.
And he has his reasons for enjoying it.
Yeah.
I will support both of you in your respective reasons. In
And
this
hold you
case-
apart.
Fuck that.
when
Pick,
you
pick a
argue.
side.
Oh, I'm on Danny's side with this.
Oh, all
I think
right.
it sucks. Yeah, let's. I mean, if I'm picking a side, Danny's right. This show sucks. Sand people it.
Yeah, full sand people.
Sorry. There goes audio. Good for sound. Good for sound. Good. All right. Great. Sorry.
But speaking of Supergirl, they also did release some behind-the-scenes footage, just further proving that Melissa Benoist is the cutest human.
She's great. I love
She's
her.
the
I'm
cutest.
so excited for this show. I really cannot wait for Supergirl.
There's just like this moment in the behind-the-scenes stuff where she's like, "This sounds like a job for Supergirl," and I'm like, yes, every job is a job for Supergirl. I want you to be like Barbie. I want you to be all the things. Like,
I mean, she could be. She
Oh,
could become
she's
that 'cause
wonderful.
She's great. I mean, tell me that's not Supergirl. Just that one shot right there. Just look. I mean, look at she's Supergirl.
I'm sorry. I
Perfect.
just
Depends which incarnation of Supergirl.
The Supergirl in my brain space. That's her.
That's your
the
brain space
incarnation
Supergirl?
That's important for me.
Okay.
yeah.
There we go.
So speaking of, superhero news and movies and such, it has sort of been confirmed,
No,
but
it
not
hasn't.
actually
No,
been
it hasn't.
confirmed
Not even
that they
slightly.
would like to do a Fantastic Four X-Men crossover. All news sites are phrasing it in such a way that is
Because
there
there have been so
confirmed.
many incredibly successful Fantastic Four X-Men
X-Men
joints
crossover, I know,
in the
man.
comic books.
Well, I mean that it can be done. It can be done. If I get to see the Thing fight Colossus, I'm happy.
That would be cool,
That
but-
would be
But
wicked.
nobody cares.
But-
Fantastic Four and Avengers makes sense.
I
you
just-
want to see?
yeah, I
you want to see
can't
Thing
really-
fighting Hulk is great. Thing fighting Colossus, he'll kick Colossus's ass.
I do think that there is an
Maybe
interesting conversation here that they normally would be able to have between the X-Men and the Avengers that they can't because of merchandise or because of franchising and ownership rights, where people look at the Fantastic Four as heroes and as these cultural icons, but they treat the X-Men with disdain and and shame and hate and
They're terrorists.
yeah, they treat them like they're terrorists because they were born with their superpowers versus, choosing to get into a machine that transported them into an alternate dimension and then gave them powers. And so I do think that there's a lot of interesting conversation to be had there. Now, that having been said, I do think that that's going to do a lot for the X-Men storyline. I don't really see it doing much of anything for the Fantastic Four storyline, unless you introduce the whole Namor is a mutant thing, and then you get into the Sue Storm and Namor thing. But that's
closest,
just drama.
That's the closest thing you have to a connection there. The Fantastic Four and the X-Men
but that's reaching. It is.
are not natural
Now,
crossover.
I'm not saying it can't be done though. With a good writer, I think it could be
With
done.
a good writer, anything that can
obviously.
be done. But
just
I think
because it hasn't been done doesn't
eventually
mean it shouldn't or
look,
couldn't
I think
be.
eventually, if the money, if there's stupid amount of money available to do it, eventually you will see the X-Men versus Avengers film. You just will, because stupid money overcomes any obstacle that you can imagine.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it fixed Civil War.
I would say 100%. I would be all in on an X-Men versus Avengers film.
Yes.
That would be
Yes,
amazing.
A versus X.
Now-
It
Oh,
would need to be multi-part.
Multi-part.
Yeah, it would have to be like a three-part
absolutely.
movie at
I don't
least.
care. I'll watch.
But
a
I would
series of
love
that.
it.
Hobbit the shit out of that. I will totally watch.
Is that a new thing?
It is for
Hobbit
me.
the
Hobbit
shit
the
out of
shit
that,
out of
man.
that,
You can extend that. I will say too. I think that we're taking what I've read with this way beyond it. For someone in the studio to say, we've talked about it. That's not a confirmation. There's not even a serious discussion in my mind about this. Final Four. Fantastic Four hasn't even come out. I'm excited about the movie. I think it looks really good. I like the changes they made to it. But the movie hasn't even come out. We haven't even seen X-Men Apocalypse. To say that they're in discussions right now and that this is possibly partially confirmed, it's way over.
I think people taking it a lot farther and going overboard with it is because of that want and that desire. It's the same reason why people are getting, why people are more excited about the Inhuman movies, even though they've never heard of the Inhumans. It's because this is what's available for them to cross over with.
Nobody's excited
and
about the
nobody
Inhuman
wants to,
movies.
and people want to see. People want to see the X-Men and the Avengers go at it. People always want to see the X-Men and the Avengers go at it, and it's rife with social commentary. It's rife with storytelling things.
and we also know those characters.
And we
We've
also
seen
know those characters. But
characters
those
out.
things can't happen right now, so we're going to cling to whatever little bit of hope we can, which is X-Men Fantastic Four. Cool. It doesn't make really any sense, but let's make it happen.
It's just it's a mismatch.
Yeah,
look, it's the
It is.
like the DC equivalent would be basically, I guess, right now a Suicide Squad JLA crossover. Which, tangentially you could do it, but nobody gives a shit. It's like the Fantastic Four have always operated somewhat separately from they're brought in all the time, but they are a unit of 4 that isn't as hated as the X-Men.
Isn't as political as the Avengers.
Right, exactly. They are always the golden children until they do the one episode. Oh, they're trying to destroy me. Now we're hated. Hey, we're magically the good guys again. And Reed's smarter than everybody else.
Except now with Secret War, Reed is like a big deal. Both Reeds. There's 2 Reed Richards, and it's like Ultimate Reed Richards, who's like a total
sort of
douche
evil.
supreme.
Sort of evil.
Yeah, he's like the Diet
all
Coke of evil.
No, he's all evil. He's straight up evil.
Most evil, Lee.
I think he's
Mostly evil.
Anyway, go ahead.
But and then there's the other Reed Richards who, Reed Richards, not a fan.
But now, didn't you? Well, yeah, we don't need to talk that. I want to see Avengers versus X-Men movie. That I will.
I think this is the closest we're gonna get, and just the same as with Avengers and Inhumans is the closest we're gonna get. Now that having been said, if there's stupid,
the
if we're
quality
willing to throw Tony Stark money at it.
The quality of Civil War will dictate if we will see larger crossover movies. If they can pull off the,
Sony
can
Spider-Man
Luke Cage
situation.
be in there?
Right.
Iron Fist, Daredevil making appearances. Will Spider-Man show up? Like, if they can pull off that crossover, Civil War is where the modern Marvel age began.
Yeah.
And that's why that's incredibly important for them to not screw that movie up.
Yeah.
Everything else kind of comes from that because
No pressure.
No pressure at all. Because once you can pull off Civil War, you can then pull off Secret Wars. You can then pull off X-Men versus AVX.
Yeah.
And
now,
all of those movies.
having said that, I may want to see the Avengers versus X-Men, but I really think that the commitment that Marvel's making to the Inhumans right now really limits the chances that we're really going to see the X-Men cross over into that universe. Because they are really going all in on the Inhumans for the next 5 years.
God, I just so don't care. They're just not compelling.
Dude,
at
I totally
all.
care.
I don't know. Again, the Inhumans are all over Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I really like how they're steadily, slowly introducing them, and the characters that they're introducing, they're good. They're handling it really well. By the time we get through these next couple of seasons and we see what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in next season, I may care. I may actually care about it. I don't know.
Just their whole backstory is just stupid. I mean,
well, they're gonna massage it around. They're gonna bring some mutants and turn them into Inhumans. They're gonna make it work. And
no, of course.
Yeah,
but here's the thing: the second they take a mutant and decide they're an Inhuman, if there was ever they were thought of as a mutant, then they'll just be lawsuits.
Maybe. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What they're going to do is they're going to stop making more mutants, and now everybody's going to be an Inhuman.
Yeah.
Right up until those rights someday revert, which maybe 50 years from now.
Well, they have totally done that with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the way that ended. So it's like there will be so many Inhumans now. Anybody that pops in the Marvel Universe from this point forward is just assume they're Inhuman. There's not going to be any more mutants.
Yeah.
Ooh, Terrigen Mists and the Kree.
Why no? Come on.
Totally different than Celestials and the Deviants and Eternals. I mean, they are just the Deviants, except they're good guys. Like they're exactly like the Deviants Kirby mythos. I find it very derivative of it.
It's all derivative, really.
Well, it's all derivative, but I just find Inhumans like Medusa and Black Bolt like so far down my list of cool characters.
I know you do, but you love Medusa because you have this bond with her because
you have hard to manage hair.
Yeah.
That is
That's
not a
pretty much
reason to
it.
like a comic book character.
No, I also really like her. So most of my
Kind of is.
experience with
Representation's
you're right.
important, Josh.
Fine.
Well,
That's
okay,
as good a
so-
reason as any to like
There
a
you
So
go.
comic book character.
most of my experience with Medusa has come from her influence on Kamala Khan and how she really decides to like take Kamala under her wing and take care of her. But there's also the currently running Secret Wars stories where she's running Attilan and like it's so
I call it Adelon.
my
I can't
experience.
figure out how to pronounce it.
My experience with Medusa has been mainly really, really contemporary, which may be very different from a lot of other people's experiences.
Well, no, because I don't know if you guys have noticed. You guys have been watching us for a while. You may notice that when these two start talking like classic comics, I get this like zoned out, and I start like thinking about Rick Astley videos or something because I have like
You Rickroll yourself?
I Rickroll myself because I have no frame of reference for these old things. I have not read a lot of classic comics. My comic experience is modern and cinematic universes. So my experience with Medusa, she's all right.
I don't know who came first, Medusa or Lady Godiva, which is the DC crazy hair magic lady equivalent, which is just the dumbest superpower. My hair will destroy
Tell
you.
that to every anime ever. Expressive hair, it's a thing.
Oh, there was
It's
that
a
movie,
trope.
too.
Yes, that's true. When I get really pumped up in Super Josh, then my hair gets even bigger and blonder, and my eyes go blue. Tell me that's
You
not
don't
completely
have any
fucked up.
I was about to
hair.
say, what hair? Your beard goes
Theoretically,
blonde?
as I
Silly.
Super Saiyan,
You Super Saiyan.
My
Your beard
My
turns
eyebrows.
blonde. My eyebrows go
Yes.
blonde. And wasn't The Grudge? Didn't the evil person in The Grudge have like hair and stuff? Wasn't that the thing in The Grudge?
wasn't the evil person in The Grudge
yeah,
have
The
hair
Grudge,
and
the movie
stuff?
The Grudge.
I don't know.
There was like hair. Somebody help me out, internet.
Like that's how you're trying to tie this back in. You're bringing the
Well,
movie
no,
The
you
Grudge
said-
into the
you
mix.
said something about
We're
hair
talking
being a
about
superpower.
serious Golden and Silver Age issues
and
here,
I'm
and you're
talking
bringing in The
about
Grudge. Get out.
J-horror.
Get
So,
out.
Get out. J-horror, get out.
So
What are we talking- where are we?
bringing it back to the Fantastic Four. So they did release something else for the Fantastic Four that really tickles me pink. They released some snippets about basically fusing the fantastical elements that factor into the Fantastic Four origin stories, and talking about them in modern theoretical physics terms. So they talk about like invisibility. They talk about like invisibility and what steps in science we have made towards making things invisible. They talk about parallel dimensions. And it's really, really, really cool because I have this thing about how, science fiction is just, a lot of science fiction that exists out there is just science that hasn't been proven yet, so we have to call it fiction. And there's a lot of things like, you look back at like Star Trek and some of the technology that existed on Star Trek and how it just, so happens to look a lot like touchscreen phones now. And there's a lot of really cool things that happen in science fiction that either mirror and even sometimes
Invent promiscuous green women.
Done.
promiscuous green
I
women.
think that has been done.
Probably.
No,
Yeah.
and sometimes they precede or foretell things that are going to happen in science and technology future. And so this particular theoretical scientist is talking about how he, how the Fantastic Four inspired him as he was a child. And this kind of stuff, I love it. Like the idea that, yes, this is fantasy. Yes, this is fiction, but it's also based on real, actual science that every day is showing us new stuff.
I feel like that's like there are three scientists that they tried out for this. It's either this guy, it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, or it's Bill Nye.
Well, Michio Kaku has a show already.
I have seen
that
his
is-
show.
Yeah, he has a show already where he talks about science, and he will address that in terms of superpowers at times. So this stuff's been out here. This is kind of his thing. He's into this.
Neil
stuff.
deGrasse Tyson is too busy duking it out with Pluto right now.
Him, Pluto are fighting.
He's got his
Yeah.
hands. He's got his hands full.
The thing I like where they're going with this stuff, but I feel like it's so superficial. I really want the hour version of this thing because this is a stinger that they put out to promote the Fantastic Four.
but
And
but his episode of his show is being done already. It's
Yeah.
whatever channel it's on, Discovery or
I don't remember. I think
I'm
it's
sure
Discovery.
Yeah, this
it
is
will
just
run
a cross
concurrently with the
promotion.
release of the movie. They're always doing the science of superheroes in some
Right.
way, shape, or form. It's Magic Rubber Man.
I
or
love
the-
it.
I just need to watch this show.
Yeah.
Just watch this show.
Just watch
because
the show.
it's a thing.
Yes, always watch the show.
And I will watch Fantastic Four because I am really intrigued. And all the haters are saying it looks horrible. Why? What looks horrible? about
Haters
the
are going to
show?
say.
I don't
Haters
get
going
it.
to hate.
Of the internet, yeah. I mean, I don't think it looks horrible. I care slightly more than Inhumans.
Okay,
Let me
there
put
you
it
go.
that way.
Slightly more
But
than
that's because
you.
I've read some decent runs of Fantastic Four. I've yet to read a particularly decent run.
I
of
care a
Inhumans.
whole lot. Michael B. Jordan has gotten like 2 whole lines in 2 separate trailers or in these videos, and I'm already like
You're in.
I'm already in. Like I just adore him.
Yeah,
I
he
want
looks great
I
in
want a
this.
little pocket-sized version of him that I can just like keep on a keychain.
I actually really like everything I've seen in the trailer.
Everything that I've seen about this
really
trailer.
like it.
I almost even like Reed Richards.
Yeah, no, he looks cool. He looks great.
Yeah,
Sue Storm
almost.
looks great. Seeing some more stuff from Sue Storm, I really like what they're doing with her. I mean, I think they're all good. The only thing I haven't seen a lot of is the Thing in this, and I think that's just I don't know why. I really don't know why we have.
The
Is it
Thing
because
is
he's not
that
wearing
is-
pants?
It's
Because they just want to give
always-
you a taste.
I guess.
Yeah, the Thing is always like one of those like strong silent type characters until he's got something funny to say. And I think, and they've actually, for the trailers for this movie, they've really focused on showing us like building the plot and getting the heroes to the point where they get their magical powers and how they deal with their magical powers. They haven't really shown us a lot of really great character moments. They've been very few and far between compared to the rest of the like explosions and really cool science things happening. I think they're saving that for the movie, but what the little bits that they have shown us give me faith and don't make me worry that they're going to fuck up all the characters.
The Thing is not a strong silent type. The Thing is
No,
not
no,
silent.
no. But they're definitely.
The
I
thing
think
is
they're.
Michael Chiklis.
The Thing is Michael Chiklis. I hope they bring in Michael Chiklis to voice
They,
this other actor playing him.
Oh my goodness.
he needs to at least.
He was
have
the
a
only
cameo
decent
in
thing
here.
in those movies.
I see what you did there. He's the only decent thing in these movies. There you go.
I didn't do it on purpose either.
Hey.
I could tell by the blank look at your face.
I
Like,
got
What is he talking about? What did
What
they just do?
I just do something.
know.
Hold
got
on.
jokes.
What
y'all.
happened?
What is this?
Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's
So
interesting.
Legends of Tomorrow they are going to be an anthology series.
I'm surprised.
This is such a big
surprised.
deal to me. This is a big deal to me.
Okay, so what is so exciting to you about this being an anthology series?
So here's the thing. One of the great things that Arrow and Flash have done is they have spotlighted characters that otherwise would not be featured in movies that don't usually make it to media. Huntress, Vixen, even Black Canary. Arrow himself doesn't really ever get a lot of play in movies or TV, and so just the show Arrow itself and the Flash spinoff in and of itself proves the point that they really want to get some of their lesser known pop culture heroes out there. And so the fact that they're doing this as an anthology series further illustrates that commitment to make more DCU characters accessible to the public. Season 2, really, I need it to be. So this is the only chance that I think I'm going to get for a Justice League Dark storyline. They were in talks, like sort of vague talks with Guillermo del Toro to do a Justice League Dark movie, and that kind of fell through, which didn't really surprise me.
Because it's a dumb concept and was from the beginning.
No, it's not. DCU has a really strong magical lineup.
They absolutely do, but the whole Justice League Dark, they don't.
Yeah,
play
the
together.
title
they
is
sleep
stupid.
together occasionally, but they
The
don't
title
get
is
along.
stupid,
Right.
but Deadman, want to see him on a show. Zatanna, want to see her on her own show, but that's my own personal preference. But I would love Zatanna, and she doesn't get nearly enough
You're
attention.
confusing preference with predilection.
Constantine had a show.
Bomb.
Didn't bomb. Fans were a fan. The fans who liked it really loved it and were super committed to it. It just didn't get the ratings and the numbers. So Constantine's on the team. You've got Deadman. You've got opportunities for Dr. Fate to show up. You've got opportunities for Captain Marvel and Black Adam to show up.
Dr. Occult.
Now keep in
Mr.
mind.
13.
Keep in mind these opportunities.
Madame Xanadu?
There has been nothing said about these people
Enchantress?
coming out.
Princess
She is
Amethyst?
just fan casting her season 2 right now. So don't think that this is
No,
anything that's been
this is
discussed.
this is something that I've wanted to see from DC because it's this corner of the DC universe that I would love to see in live action. And I would love to see someone do something with it artistically. And Legends of Tomorrow being turned into an anthology series gives me hope for that. It also gives me hope for things like the Booster Gold. Booster Gold, come on. Like,
Neil
what if
Patrick Harris.
season 3? Okay, seriously, I have this theory that Booster Gold is actually in real life Neil Patrick Harris. He hit his head, forgot who he was, and just started acting
No.
because that seemed like a natural
You don't think
progression.
that's right?
No.
He's not Booster Gold.
Booster Gold was a high
Clearly.
school football player. He's not Neil Patrick Harris.
He looks like Neil Patrick Harris.
Sort of, but no. Character-wise, I mean, the arrogance, I could see Neil Patrick Harris playing
He could
that
play the
character.
arrogance. Are you kidding? Hedwig? He could totally pull that off with Booster
I'm
Gold.
sure he could pull it up. Booster Gold's another character I've never found. During
Oh,
the
no, I don't-
Geffen, Booster Gold, like Ted Cord,
I heart
JLI
Booster Gold.
phase.
You can't
of
tell me that
things.
watching JLU that you didn't think he was hilarious.
He was fine, but I also
Fun,
read a
yeah.
lot of the comics of that era, and I always, I always found like that whole period of Justice League, like
You remember the 90s?
yeah,
Yeah, stop talking about 90s. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
it really was terrible. Like
just
nothing
forget
made
that.
me
We just
happier
block it
when
out.
they killed.
block that out.
Repress. Put it in a
Repress.
little box inside
Although
the
I
back
like
of your
Ambush
brain
Bug,
and lock it away.
so thank you,
you like
Geffen,
who?
for Ambush Bug.
Ambush Bug? That's
Ambush
a
Bug.
thing? Again,
But
I
there are
have no
so
idea
many
who this is.
corners of the DC universe that have not been given light or focused on. And this even goes into like the Vertigo universe where DC and Vertigo sort of cross over. Like there's a lot of stuff happening there that no one has really touched on.
There are very few places where Vertigo and mainstream DC cross over.
Yeah, except for the entire Seven Soldiers of Victory, which is epic and amazing and so good and would
Books
make
of
an
Magic.
Yeah,
Books of Magic was the bomb.
Seven Soldiers of Victory would make an entire season of this show, and it would be really good. It would be really, really good. Clarion the Witch Boy, come on.
Well, then you're bringing in Etrigan.
Yeah,
at that
Etrigan,
point.
abso-freaking-lutely. The Bulleteer. There's so many
Really,
things.
the Bulleteer?
There's so I love the Bulleteer. There's so many things that could be done. It's like a metal encased cone head, and I'm into it.
No, I know who the Bulleteer is. I'm just like, wow, that's
I know.
I mean, I might as well bring up.
Dan Aykroyd,
You know,
like,
I
covered in
could bring up
silver.
like Crazy Quilt or Kite Man or something like that.
Well, then you've got like the
she's talking
The Secret Six.
out.
There's so many things that could be done in this show with an anthology series. I mean, I could go on and on about the parts of the DCU
I will tell you though,
that
but
will
the
never get
virtual-
attention if we're focusing on the
You're not going to
Batman
get.
Superman.
I don't think you're going to get magic in Legends of Tomorrow. Legends of Tomorrow denotes science. Legends of Tomorrow denotes you're going to get Legion of Superheroes, or you're going to get Tommy
in the
Tomorrow.
first season.
Well, they're still going to keep the title. He's saying that
Yeah.
Legend of Tomorrow, the actual connotation of the title is the Legend of Tomorrow is kind
Science.
of precluding magic.
It's science, not
There's
sword and
absolutely
sorcery.
no reason why they can't write storylines where science and magic cross over. It happens in the comics all the time.
Well, it actually is starting to happen because Arrow. I mean, you can't tell me that Lazarus Pit doesn't have an element of magic and fantasy in this. They're already starting to
No,
do that a
it's
little bit.
science bath.
Science
bath.
Science bath. So cynical me.
It's really
I
hot
have a
outside. I
question
need to go
here
take a science
because
bath.
I feel like potentially they're just doing this as a way to throw characters on the screen to see what hits that they can then spin off. It's
Absolutely.
like they don't really
It's a
know
pilot
what
season.
to do.
It's a great idea.
It's a great idea, but I think that these characters
it's-
are going to see what hits, and the next
But
season they'll try to group.
but frankly, that's where comics began. Action Comics might have become a Superman. Detective Comics might have become Batman. But all comics were anthologies
You're right.
with short stories.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, and they say anthology, and they're saying it's going to be like American Horror Story, and none of the seasons are going to tie into each other. But that's not true. Every season of American Horror Story has tidbits and hints and Easter eggs from other seasons, and they have admitted that certain characters from one season are the great uncle or the great grandfather of
but that's
a character
not-
from another season.
That's not an inherent characteristic of an anthology
No, but
series.
this is where they could bring in
it's not
Martian
to
Manhunter
say-
would be a great thing to bring in here. They would bring in Dial H for Heroes, and then remember that it's stupid, and it will go away again like it always does. They always try to bring that nonsense
and
back.
it's not to say that as an anthology series they can't, put cryogenically freeze White Canary and put her in the future in the Batman Beyond
who is
universe.
White Canary?
She is a new character for Legends of Tomorrow. They brought back Black Canary from the dead. Apparently threw in the Lazarus Pit, and now she's White Canary. And I'm okay with that because I will watch Katie Lotz
She's amazing.
all day.
She
all day.
The character is amazing, and they wrote Black Canary in to be such an amazing character that now they basically worked it to where they can have two canaries, and I
gotta say, like, I would frankly throw away this whole concept and just do Starman, the Robinson run.
Starman
which
would
is
be wonderful.
One of the best, like, overarching guide to the golden age and modern age of DC Comics in one fell swoop. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I need to read that, but the only thing going through my head is that old movies from the 80s.
It is not. It is a different Starman.
I kind of figured it was,
It
but
is.
that's all that I got because I got no reference back there.
It's one of the best kind of self-contained series out there.
Okay, so I need to pick up Starman.
But
Yeah.
the anthology approach to this, I think, is really great. Not that I wouldn't love to see this particular season of this show continue on and on forever, but it's opening a lot of doors.
Can I just say this from the
DCU.
chat? I guess is the White Canary. He says the sister in Arrow, butt chin but hot.
What?
It's how her chin is shaped.
Don't judge
That's
her
not.
chin.
Don't
It's
judge
a-
her chin.
It's a tushy.
Don't
It's a
touch her
tushy
chin.
chin.
What
The
if
tushy chin?
Tushy
you had
chin.
a butt chin?
Yeah,
Then it would be
there are a lot
referred
of
to as a
people-
cleft.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there that have that little chin thing going on who are hot. That is not
That's
a
true.
preclusion to being hot.
That's true.
Let me just say that weird. What's next? We've been talking about this a long time.
So, Gotham season 2, the trailer just came out. Everybody likes to hate on this show, and I would really like the Gotham haters to go back to your hater cave and sit in the hater dark where it drips hater water from the hater ceiling. Like, seriously, I actually...
Goddamn hater.
So... I really like this show, and this show has problems, but for the most part, like, the villains in this show, and even Bruce Wayne, like, just make it for me. I love Selena Kyle is amazing. I really like what they've done with her character. I love what they're doing with Bruce Wayne. I love us watching him, like, right after his parents die, go through the process of grief and becoming hardened and seeing the world for what it is as a 10-year-old boy. Because that does happen. When you lose a parent and you're young, you age. Your childhood stops. I speak from personal experience. Like, your childhood stops and things take on a different role. And so it's a very weird emotional place for a child to be in, still having to do childlike things and experience the world as a child, but being aware of mortality and being aware of the world being an ugly, dark place. I love the emotional evolution of Bruce Wayne, and people just like to tear it apart and bitch about how they don't want to see this kid doing all this depressing stuff. It's like, his parents just died. Cut him a break.
And eventually, watch him, fall into psychosis and develop some very, creepy, obsessive, compulsive tendencies to become a ninja and then beat up bad people.
I love child negligence Alfred. I think child negligence Alfred is the best Alfred.
That would be an awesome action figure.
He really is. He straight up lets Bruce Wayne do all of these things that are very dangerous to him. And he's like, "No, I trust you, kid. I love it. I freaking love it."
Alfred giving him a bag of glass for Christmas. Here, bag of broken glass. Go. That would be great.
Shards o' glass popsicles.
Yay.
No, so, one of the other things I really love about this series is the Penguin is absolutely amazing. I think he's one of those characters that you sort of like look back on. You look at like Danny DeVito playing the Penguin, you're like, it's comical. They took this really comical character and made him a serious character who fits both what I have in my head as the idea for the Penguin, but is also still kind of scary and terrifying, and yet rings like true and real.
Does he ever go, nah.
He does not. He does not.
No.
But he does walk with both feet out, which is something I actually realize that I do when I walk. I totally do that.
Pigeon-toed is in. Out is...
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called.
No, pigeon-toed is
But
in.
he does the thing, and I do the thing.
Know. Am I right? Which one is which?
So the other thing I want to talk about, and we've
Penguin.
talked a lot about the Suicide Squad trailer and my feelings about the Joker, because Jared Leto's Joker, I'm not a huge fan of. The Joker in Gotham, who is this kid? Cameron, what is his last name?
Monaghan.
Cameron Monaghan. Oh my God. Like so at the end of the season of last season, you see him having a conversation with Jim Gordon, and you see him evolve from, or not evolve, but like you see him go from this kid who's, who appears to be very sad and upset, and the face just melts off and he becomes this manipulative, and you see his grin, and I really want to get a shot. Like, this kid is the Joker. He's an incredible Joker. He's got the laugh, he's got the grin, he's got the look. Like, Mark was watching the video with headphones on in the office back there, and it gave me the chills without the audio. He's incredible. This kid is an amazing actor. He's done a lot of really good things here and there, but he always is incredible in the roles he plays. But this kid is a Joker that I think is on par with
Heath Ledger.
With Heath Ledger's Joker. I mean, easily.
So I agree with you. I think the first I ever saw this, I agree. It was a kind of a creepy portrayal of the Joker. I need to know why I need to watch this again, because I only got 3 episodes into Gotham, and I was like, I can't.
The first season of Gotham was hard for me because they just really went out of their way to make sure that they gave Jada Pinkett Smith as much screen time as possible without her actually having any sort of established character from the comics, or really just being interesting. Fish Mooney's character was boring as hell. She was...
That's just bad contract negotiation. That's
really was.
Full on like thinking like Jada Pinkett Smith is actually some kind of box office draw.
Yeah, not at all.
Well, and it's not that I don't... she's a great actress. I love her, but she overacted the part like crazy.
Yeah.
The part took up way too much time in the plot line. It took away from several other opportune moments to have more great... I mean, I would have watched Selena Kyle just flip around town for all the scenes that Fish Mooney was in, just cut them and put Selena Kyle just like dangling off of a fire escape. And that would have been more interesting to me.
I felt like I felt like every character and again, I only watched through 3 episodes, so I can't speak to the whole season. Everything just felt so melodramatic and over the top that I just couldn't buy into it. They were really it felt to me like they were really trying to build this dark world, but it was so over the top I couldn't really buy it.
Yeah. And Daredevil has proven that you can build a dark world that has some semblance of realism.
I think Gotham has really had a hard time trying to find its footing. I think it found its footing in its villains. I think it found its footing first in Selena Kyle, first in the Penguin, who has become one of the most what's the sympathetic characters. Like people are rooting for this guy. I think it found its footing in Selena Kyle. I think it's starting to find its footing in Bruce Wayne, although they could, Bruce Wayne and Alfred, they could do a little work on that relationship. I think kicking Fish Mooney out of the plot line entirely is going to be a good move.
Do you find that there are too many characters? Like they're just exploring too much of the universe?
I think the first season they were trying to take on too much.
Well, they probably didn't know they were getting a second season.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping that the second season can really hone it in and focus on the villains. And that's what they're saying, is that the second season is going to be almost entirely about the villains, which is where they need to be putting their focus on, because that's where some of the most
It just feels like they once almost made that cartoon of Gotham High where they were going to put all the characters in there.
Right,
and this just smacks of like, oh, let's do that, but we'll make it more realistic.
I don't know if season 1 knew what it wanted to accomplish, and that's where Fish Mooney started to take over the plot line. I think it's very clear. They've made it really clear in the second season that they want to go in the direction of exploring the villains, which to me is a good sign, because the villains is where the strength is. The villains is where the compelling narrative
it's always been there in
for Batman. Yeah,
absolutely.
Batman's villains are
Batman is wooden.
Yeah. Batman is just the vehicle for which stories are told about his
Batman.
villains.
Rage! Batman.
Yeah,
Batman.
it's fine. Yeah.
Long story short, there's a lot of TV on. Apparently, Sci-Fi's new slate looks amazing. They've got like 3 or 4 shows that are supposed to be lights out. I'm going to have trouble putting Gotham in.
I feel like they had some other shows on Sci-Fi that were supposed to be awesome too. Wasn't Helix on Sci-Fi?
Oh, Helix was on Sci-Fi, but Helix is one of the worst shows ever. Helix was bad.
Has so many
the fact that Sci-Fi
Helix.
renewed Helix for a second season, what are you doing?
Bring
I can
back
say the
Warehouse
same thing about
13.
The Strain.
We have
even
fan
think-
trailers that need funding here.
That's
and you
right.
seriously put
And you're
money
gonna
into a
give that
second season of
To
Helix?
Helix?
Like, really?
Oh my God, one of the worst
90%
shows
of
I've ever
Sci-Fi is
seen.
terrible, though.
It's like Ted 2
No,
getting
but that's
a
just
movie.
the thing.
Like,
They talked about it recently, and when they started doing their upfronts, they were talking about how they were refocusing to try to get back into a little more real
being
storytelling.
terrible?
Not being terrible. Yeah, going back to the Battlestar Galactica model of these things.
They very much went into a, Saturday B-movie matinee thing,
went
for, like all
hard into
Sharknado-ish all the time.
And I quit watching, and I think a lot of people quit watching. You have an audience that's going to watch those B movies, but at some point, that's all you got. But the real stuff, the stuff that has really developed an established fandom that will come back repeatedly and spend a lot of money. I buy Battlestar Galactica stuff like crazy. That they need to reinvest in. And I think that they're starting to do that. They have a great show that's based on a book series set in the future where it's all about the different factions. There's a Mars revolution about to start. There's also a group of miners that live in the asteroid belt, and just how these cultures have really developed separately in space. And it's supposed to be spectacular. The early footage and the early reviews look amazing. There's about 3 shows right now that are getting a ton of good buzz. I wish I could remember the name of them right now, but it's out of my brain space. But it's going to be hard for me to find a slot for Gotham with all this going on, based on that first.
It does. Yeah, there's too much other good stuff to watch.
I will watch it, and I will report back to you guys.
Okay.
If
Please
it's good,
do.
you guys
Please
can play
do.
catch up.
Because I can mainline a show on Netflix if I need to.
What is
just
this
like
video that I'm showing?
Gotham
right
is just
down
that project that I
that's
really
a-
want to succeed.
Yeah, that's a new trailer.
1 and 2. So IFC is getting their foot in the superhero game as well with an original story called 1 and 2. And it appears to be about like a rural family, and the brother and the sister exhibit superhero powers, and for whatever reason, whether it's, backwoods ignorance or social prejudice or whatever, these kids, the parents are really afraid of these kids expressing their powers, so much so that the father basically, it's really heavily alluded to that the father is just like almost downright abusive to keep these kids from expressing their superpowers. And one of the really compelling things about this story, go on. No,
Which is ridiculous, because as everybody knows, like if these kids have been born with like fur all over their bodies or a tail, they'd be put in a sideshow circus within 5 minutes. So basically the conceit is now, okay, they've got superhuman magical powers, so redneck father is again it. That makes no sense to me.
Well, I'm
putting them in
curious
a
about
zoo.
the social structure of this world, because there are some implications that he is doing it out of love and he is doing it to protect them, but what is he protecting them from?
Ba-da-ding-ding.
And that I'm really interested to see, like what he's at. Is he protecting them from something, or is he just creating something that he's protecting them from in his mind?
Or he was the scientist that developed it, and he was
Right.
appalled, and he had to run, and he fled to
no.
the Ozarks, and now he eats possum.
But one of the things that I find really interesting about this trailer is the way that it's filmed. It looks really cool. It's different. It's got a stylistically different composure than a lot of what we see. It looks darker without being like murder darker or like blood, guts, and gore darker. It looks darker by the subject content and the conversations that are going to be had versus, darker because it's gritty. It's about the dark city.
I would say it looks darker because like the shadows in this thing are everywhere. I mean, this is like there's not a single shot that isn't defined by the shadows that they're shooting them
which
around.
is probably an artistic.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I find it exhausting, but
that's true.
It's fine.
And it's also, I mean, the saturation's really knocked down on this. There's a lot of shadow, a lot of darkness involved, and there's going to be, and especially as IFC, this is an artistic choice they're making here to really express that. It's an IFC thing. I'm intrigued by it. I don't know enough. I don't feel like this has told me the actual story. They're holding something back, which I appreciate. Thank you, trailers, for not telling me the entire plot of the story in 2 minutes.
If IFC is getting into the superhuman game, I almost feel like it's guaranteed that they are going to do something different. They are going to do something that's very much got the IFC stamp on it, and that is what intrigues me. That is what is exciting to me, is how this is going to be different. Because I just don't see IFC really getting into it just for the sake of getting into it.
Well, are they getting into the superhero game, or is this just a film that they've got that has someone who has special powers?
I don't know that they're getting. I don't think they're going to build a world based on this movie. I mean, who knows? I don't know what their plan is.
It's just not
but
IFC.
the superhero genre is becoming its own genre in movies. You've got comedy, you've got horror, you've got action, you've got superheroes. So I do think that that becoming a part of that evolution, whether it's intentional, whether they were like, we want to do a superhero thing, or whether it was like someone brought us this really badass script that has something to do with superpowers and that's something new and original we've never done before, so let's do it. Either way, I am really pleased that someone other than a big name is coming out with some original content, because we bitch and we moan about how everything's being remade and redone. Well, this is new. This is different. These are new characters that we've never heard of before. This is not based on some sort of, mythos that already exists.
What was the movie that came out a few years ago with the people that could teleport all over the world?
I was thinking about that too.
Yeah, it's not Sliders, which is great though, but it's not Sliders.
And last seasons were pretty terrible.
Yeah, last season were great, but it started off great.
It had Samuel L. Jackson in it.
Did it? Yeah.
But
Could
you
that's
be
just
more
what I'm getting
specific?
over
There
here.
was like a period of like 5 years where Samuel L. Jackson
there was that one
in
movie Samuel L.
Pretty
Jackson
sure he
was
was in
in.
Legally Blonde too. No, maybe.
He was the main character.
Absolutely, yes.
God, I
Makeup
would
was
rewatch that movie
amazing.
so
Makeup
quickly.
One movie that I don't believe he was in, and I'm not sure why it's in my playlist, but I'm putting this up there anyway.
It's all her. It is all her.
Why
You
are we
can
talking
blame Danny
Space
for
Jam?
this all day.
Because
Two.
LeBron James signed a deal with Warner Brothers. He was in the movie Trainwreck that premiered this weekend, and so many people have told me that he did a really great job in Trainwreck, which is awesome.
Jumper.
Thank you.
Thank you,
The
Internet.
idea
Thank you,
of
Internet. Oh, good.
the idea of like LeBron James and his like past comments about like feminism being just anywhere near Amy Schumer kind of makes my head want to explode a little bit, in a good way. Good head explosion, not bad head implosion is bad. Head explosion is good. But so now this rumor has just like grown in intensity over the internet about people wanting to see a Space Jam 2 with LeBron James.
But okay, I got it. It's a rumor, and it's not even a rumor. LeBron James made a deal with Warner Brothers, who did Space Jam, and as soon as word leaked of that, people started saying Space Jam 2. There's been nothing from either party that has said anything about Space Jam 2 except for a trademark for Space Jam. I think they renewed the trademark, or they did another trademark application for Space Jam. So they're taking those two things and saying they're making a movie.
Now I do.
Also sounds like a terrible movie.
That
does.
is ridiculous, but it doesn't sound like a terrible movie.
It sounds like a
I
horrible
loved
movie.
Space Jam growing up. So Space Jam came out right around the time when I was playing basketball, not very well, mind you. There's a reason why I'm tall and I don't still play basketball. I'm just not good, very clumsy. But the
Broken foot.
But Space Jam was a huge part of me growing up because it gave me, I got to vicariously live through people who were good at playing basketball, and also Bill Murray. And then so Looney Tunes was big for me growing up, huge for me. But by the time I was watching Looney Tunes, they weren't putting out new Looney Tunes because they'd been around for so long. They weren't making new current Looney Tunes. So to have
They stopped making good Looney Tunes in the 40s.
Exactly.
No. Tiny Toons.
Tiny
You
Toons was
cannot
great.
tell
Tiny
me
Toons was
Tiny Toons
was
is
not.
and
So full of
Animaniacs is a
just
genre unto
hilarious.
themselves.
They
Yes.
are unique with
Pinky and the
themselves.
Brain.
But
They
the
were inspired.
original-
That's part of the leading up into Batman the Animated Series. That's all
Oh,
the
yeah.
Andrea Romano,
All right. Okay.
Tress McNeil,
All right.
that whole thing.
All right.
I love that
I'll
woman.
give you
Different
that.
genre.
I'll give you that.
Okay. But, moving, but so growing up, like by the time I was 8 years old, I had probably already seen every episode of Looney Tunes that had aired probably 3 or 4 times. You watch it every Saturday morning. There's only so many episodes. You run out of episodes.
Kill the Wabbit.
So to
kill
him-
the Wabbit. Actually, that's probably Merry Melodies.
So you
No, I don't think that was Looney
So
Tunes.
you put Space Jam on, and it's Michael Jordan, who is who was a hero to me and all kids growing up from that time period. And you have new Looney Tunes, which is always really exciting. I always really, really liked Lola Bunny, although like going back and watching the show again or watching the movie again, like she's seriously problematic character, still awesome. So the idea of another generation, like kids when I nannied a couple of years ago, the kids that I nannied were still watching Looney Tunes. And I don't mean I was making them watch Looney Tunes, like they were still watching Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes are still relevant. So, having a Space Jam number 2,
Looney Tunes are still relevant.
having a Space Jam number 2,
That's a
gives people-
strong word to use
Shush!
for the Roadrunner.
So no, but maybe not relevant. But Looney
Speedy
Tunes
Gonzales?
still apply to kids. Problematic.
Looney Tunes are still watchable,
Watchable. There
still
you go.
watchable. Kids
as
still
opposed
watch
to
them.
damn near anything Hanna-Barbera put out.
Yeah, that's true.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And bringing Looney Tunes to another generation with a basketball star, who actually happens to have not done a whole bunch of stupid stuff in the public eye, who in fact has made some really socially progressive comments and moves, to me is really cool.
So you're saying if Kobe was in Trainwreck, you wouldn't have felt
Wouldn't have
as good?
felt that way.
No.
Yes. So if this was
No.
Space Jam 2 with Kobe Bryant,
No.
you'd be not
No.
into it.
No.
Not into it at all.
No.
I'm not into it. Period. And I'm not saying that to diminish your love of Space Jam. I am saying that because I don't think it's a good concept. I didn't think the first Space Jam was a good concept. I heard it was a horrible movie. I never watched it. I don't want to watch Space Jam 2. I don't care about LeBron James playing basketball with Bugs Bunny. I don't care. You've talked a lot about hating all these. Why can't we have original stuff? Let's have original stuff. But you're really excited about Space Jam 2.
This is a sequel, not a reboot.
Oh.
Theoretically.
It's the same. Yeah, in your mind. You can't even say this is a sequel, not a reboot, because
Hey,
there's
every-
nothing
I gotta
there.
tell you,
People are
if
calling
There's
for
no
Space Jam
movie.
2, not
If
a
we
reboot
were
of
talking
Space Jam.
Air Bud, I might be on board. But I'm not, and we're running out of time, so next topic.
Oh, God.
Joe
Oh,
Dance,
God.
do your dance at the Space Jam.
She's been wanting to sing
All right.
that all
Okay, I'm done.
afternoon. On
I
air.
have been singing that all afternoon.
You have, I know. I've been trying to get you into other stuff. It's not working.
So another thing that happened this week that I do really want to have a very meaningful conversation about, because I have a lot of opinions on this. So Gen Con is doing a Gen Con like writers symposium, and they had a panel. They have a panel that is going to be about writing comics for women. When they originally put this panel out, they had some female guests booked, but those female guests for scheduling reasons were unable to make it. So when the panel was published, it was a published panel of only having male panelists. Now, it's moderated by Will Willingham, and 2 of the panelists, Chris Roberson and Jim Zub, I've met Chris, and I don't know Jim Zub personally, but he works really closely with the Valkyries, which is cool. But these men write really good, compelling stories featuring female characters. And anytime something like this happens, we immediately want to vilify the men that are on these panels and say, well, you're not a woman, so you shouldn't be on that panel. And I have really strong feelings about that, because if you're sitting here looking me in the face telling me that men are not allowed to write strong female characters, then where the fuck are we going to get strong female characters?
Very good point. Very, very good point. And I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I think that men should be, I have a lot of opinions on this, because I think that men should be encouraged, and I think men should be encouraged to write strong female characters. I think that, I think that white people should be encouraged to write strong characters of color. Now, that's not to say that I don't think a woman should be on the panel, and there are, women, Comic Book Women is actually an organization that was formed after a previous panel about women on comics where they just said that they couldn't find female panelists. So they have put together an organization, I think it's at Comic Book Women, or you can email them. You can find them online, and they have resources where they will help you find women to put on your panel if you are looking for women. It's a really good resource for people. However, and I do think that women should be on a panel about women, but I don't think we should vilify the men who are on the panel because that's really shooting ourselves and our cause in the foot.
I agree with you. I think that number one, the organizers said that they had reached out to several women writers and they were not able to attend. This was what they could get. Now, maybe they didn't know these resources, whatever. They now have announced that there are going to be women on the panel. So they are booking women to be on that panel. Going back to your original point of this, I really like what you said about, we have to, have these men write these characters. We should encourage men to write strong female characters. I think the point or the topic of conversation for this panel was going to be, how do you do that? Can you do that in our current environment? Because there is this mindset among a lot of people that men can't do that. And just like you said, a white writer should, I really do that all the time, a white writer should be able to write an African-American character or a Hispanic character. And the question is, how do you, as a person not in that community and not really versed in that culture, do that effectively? I think the point of this panel was to be, how can you, as a writer, write strong female characters when you are not a strong woman?
Because it's called fiction.
And yes.
And you can simply write. I mean, there's such reactionary bullshit out there about you can only write from what you know, which eliminates the vast majority of fiction and completely neglects people's ability to use things like common sense. And that is incredibly, I think, both divisive and damaging to what it is that you want to do. Like, frankly, it's prejudicial and racist if you basically say that the only person who can create fictional characters that understand this particular thing are people who are that particular thing.
Right.
Then you've narrowed your focus far too much.
Then you've basically just said that no one outside of your group of people has the ability for empathy or compassion.
Right. And I will say,
they are not a part of your group.
Anytime somebody asks me about like writing or anything, I will say, and I will always say, that the most important skill a writer has to have is empathy. Period. You have to be able to empathize with other people and characters and cultures and these things. You have to be able to do that. And that is the fundamental aspect of writing, is empathy, if you want to write strong characters.
See, and I would even argue the opposite of this reaction on the internet, like putting it in my circumstance. As a person of privilege, as a white person, it is my responsibility to use that privilege to lift up other people who do not experience the same amount of privilege. So if I'm writing a story, it is my responsibility as a good actor and as a person of privilege, if I care about these issues, to make an effort to write all kinds of characters, not just characters that are coming from where I sit in the world. I mean, I almost feel like as a writer, it's your responsibility to write. If you're going to write a female character, it should be a well thought out. It doesn't have to be a strong female character. Not all real humans are strong, but I mean, strong, but a legitimate, well thought out, well-rounded character.
Nah, I think your only responsibility, in all honesty, is if you're going to be writing about the length and breadth of the human experience, is to do the best job possible at that. And if that involves, writing characters from different perspectives that you think that you can tell those stories and tell them effectively, by all means. Whether or not it's your responsibility as a person of privilege to write stories about people that don't have privilege, I don't know if I buy that. It feels a little affirmative action-y to me. Which can be problematic in and of itself. I think there needs to be a tendency to basically say, look, diversity is important. The world is huge. We should experience and we should write and we should talk about all parts of that. But it is not my responsibility to do that for everyone.
I think it's my personal responsibility as a writer who is also in a public space where I talk about diversity mattering. I think it's my personal responsibility. Do I think it's like your responsibility? Am I telling you what you need to be responsible for? No, not necessarily.
That's the key right there.
But
There's
me personally,
too many people telling other people what they should feel responsible for doing.
And I actually think that this Gen Con panel was was actually coming from a really good place, and was actually coming from a really good place and starting a conversation that we need to have, which is, hey, cis white dudes, how do you write stories about people who aren't cis white dudes? Well, here's a really good way we're going to tell you how. I mean,
it's a
Jesus
good
Christ.
conversation to have.
Also, whenever somebody says cis, now I don't know exactly where the etymology of that came from, but I think Sisyphusian, which is basically rolling the boulder up the hill. So basically, as a straight guy now, I feel like I can never get good, man. I'm constantly rolling this thing up the good. That is to a certain extent the position some of this language has left white straight dudes like me.
Well, now cis is your gender identity. It's that you identify as like your one assigned biogender. Right. Mm-hmm. It's not, you're cis and straight. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
no.
I just wanted to use the word Sisyphusian.
I know it's one of those words that you like using.
But speaking of telling people what to do, next topic.
Yeah, telling people what to do.
We are over time.
So this is really this is also really interesting to me. You know, we talked a little bit about these last couple of weeks, the Marvel hip hop variant covers, and we talked about the editorial staff at Marvel in the past has really just not even just used words, but definitely actions to illustrate their need for diversity, their commitment to telling diverse stories. Axel Alonso came out with some comments about the controversy over the hip-hop covers and the appropriation, basically stating that a lot of the articles that were written about this, and this from an appropriative angle, did not factually represent how many African-American creators or how many black creators they had working on the project, especially when they only had like 10 of the 50 covers and cover artists announced. And so this just sort of like re-cements the conversation that we were having between the difference between, appropriation and assimilation.
Well, the fact that it's the internet and people gonna get pissed about something.
This to me isn't a reflective of that. I see where you're going. To me, this conversation is more reflective of the fact that people are putting stuff out there without doing adequate research. They hear something, you're like, I have opinions, internet, and they don't actually do that.
And I have been guilty of that. I have been. We have had conversations where I'm like, I feel this way, and then I'm like, strongly. I feel this way.
You feel very strongly about
it.
I feel very strongly about this thing until now I'm doing my research. Like we had a really good, passionate conversation about the gendering of about award ceremonies, and I was like, first of all, I think it's really shitty that they gender. And then I was reading, and I was like, oh well, in a medium that is notorious for not giving women a chance to shine, yeah, okay, maybe gender categories are what we need so that women can actually win some shit. But the issue's much more complicated and bigger than that. But like, everyone's going to put their foot in their mouth. I am like the poster child. I'm like the Miss America of putting my foot in my mouth.
See, but this doesn't even feel like putting your foot in your mouth. This is some people out there that are jumping on something without having all the information because they know it's going to stir controversy. And
this is people shitting all over art.
You can make a mistake and put your foot in your mouth, but at the end of the day, like you want to talk about responsibility. Like I hold myself personally responsible for making sure that if I'm fired up about something, I need to make sure that no one's going to be able to come behind me and say, yeah, actually, you didn't read that article. You didn't pay attention.
Right. Like the fact that nobody researched the fact that most of the artists that were announced were African American. And they went out there and said, where's your diversity? I mean, that is just fundamentally at the very top level of this is the first thing.
Well, it's just gotcha bullshit.
It's all it is, and it's frustrating.
Every single one, most of those articles were like, basically boiled it down to Marvel is racist and they don't care about black people. And it's like,
thank you, Kanye.
No, that's not true at all. Captain America, being a black man, sends an incredibly powerful message to all of America about how Marvel feels about racial representation in the future of this country.
It's Captain America.
Captain motherfucking America.
Off this motherfucking plane. Sorry. I just went.
And on that note, final topic.
And on that note, so I want to talk a little bit about our video of the week, because we talk a lot about representation on the show, and my personal passion, because, coming from a very deep-seated personal experience in place, is queer representation in movies and media. And we always say, like, hey, if you want to see more representation, put your money where your mouth is. Well, there's a movie coming out this fall, or there's a movie coming out here very soon that will allow me to put my money where my mouth is, and it's wonderful, and it features
How will
Ellen
it fit
Page
with all of your feet in there?
and Julianne Moore and Ellen Page, whom I love. So this movie is about two women, one of which works for, I believe, the police department, and she is diagnosed with like stage 3 lung cancer. She's terminal. She's not going to make it. And this is their civil rights fight to secure employers, to secure benefits for her life partner.
It was a domestic partnership. So this was before marriage equality thing. So it's a domestic partnership thing, where as a lesbian couple, she was not going to be able to pass on spousal benefits to her partner. And this is about the court case that went through to this, and it looks really good. The performances look great. Steve Carell looks amazing in this.
Seriously, I didn't read any of the article before I started watching this, and I'm really glad that I did, because Steve Carell being in this movie was a total surprise to me, and I was like, "Whoa, oh my god!" Is it? And like he's playing a gay man, and he's playing this hilarious gay man who's also the lawyer who is working with them. But this movie looks like it's going to be really powerful, really impactful. And these are the sort of stories, these are the sort of cutting edge dramas that I feel like Hollywood needs more of. There is a struggle happening here in America. There are racial struggles. There are gender struggles. There are...
That's true. We never talk about any of that.
No, we never talk about any
in
of that.
film. Never, never.
That's
ever
not what
talk
I'm saying.
about it.
But this is a much more recent. We like to do a lot of movies that are past.
I will say
that are past social struggles.
Yeah,
without really highlighting a lot of stuff that's happening more contemporary. I mean, this is very current.
The thing that really interesting to me about this is when it comes up and it says in 2005. You know, I like to think that this is stuff that was way back then. 2005 was not that long ago. Not that long ago at all. And it's terrifying to me because I like to think that these kind of things are over, and we're so not over this. So I like the fact that we're still talking about it, and we really recognize that this is still a modern problem.
And we are in play. We are still.
I think the other way that you could regard this is that the arc of history moves quite a bit faster than it used to, and we don't have to wait for the.
Well, that's true.
You've lived in history. You've seen the Supreme Court ruling come down. This film was made and edited before the Supreme Court ruling came down, which is probably why they held it as long as they did, so they could capitalize on that, because it would have been either, if it went one way, really popular, and they could have marketed it that way. Now they get to market it as a civil rights, basically biopic, as opposed to a protest
well,
piece.
And it's still in its own way a protest piece, because there are still states and there are still counties that are trying to deny marriage equality rights to people because they just feel like they can do whatever the fuck they want because
that's
religion.
Fine, but they lost.
They lost. But there's been a lawsuit that just came out where one of the clerks who was fired because she wouldn't issue a marriage license is now suing the state, saying that she is being discriminated upon because of her religious beliefs.
Because she's a bigot?
In her mind,
she has a religious... No, she's perfectly allowed to have a religious beliefs, but, look, no, it's...
This is the law.
And in a theocratic government society where she can move and live there, I'm sure that we can definitely respect her desire to put her religion over our government's laws.
God damn it. And on that note, we'd like to thank you all for joining us on this edition of highly political .geek, apparently.
It wasn't until the end.
I feel passion.
Join us next week where Danny feels strongly about something. Very, very strongly.
I feel strongly about nothing.
Very strongly.
Lies. All
feel
lies.
nothing.
Take us home, Will.
God, yes.
I am the grumpy
follow
cat.
us on YouTube, follow us on Twitch and Twitter and all of the things.
Danny, yes, follow the Weirdlings, Danny Danger, Mark Gardner ATX. Follow us on Twitter, do the thing.
I will sing the Space Jam song for you.
YouTube/daily.geek.
.geek.
And
you can take us home.
Jam song?